Hey everybody. So, I started a series where I'm going to be interviewing people involved with Sunday Love. So, it's going to be people who have volunteered, people who were affected by what Sunday Love was doing, and also like people that have business relationships with us, like people that donate food and different vendors and stuff like that. Just so I can kind of give like some people that don't know a little bit of insight into the world of Sunday Love and kind of like the whole, process of where food comes from, how it gets to us, where it goes, and who it affects. So just a really deep look into like the inner workings of Sunday Love. This is a project I'm really excited about, and my first interview I got to do with somebody who is very near and dear to my heart. She's a super special person with an amazing story. She's been there for me my whole time in my own journey to recovery. She's been there since day one, and she has continued to support me and still continues to support me. So, without further ado, I give you my interview with Amy, and I'm really proud of this. I'm really proud of her, and please stay tuned for more interviews and spread the love. I love you all. Wait. All right, so I'm here today with a good friend of ours here at Sunday Love, Amy Renz, and she's been a part of the Sunday Love family for a very long time. I'm going to be asking her a few questions today about her involvement with Sunday Love. First thing I want to get into is how did you get involved with Sunday Love?
I got involved with Sunday Love before I realized I was getting involved with Sunday Love. I was one of the people who got a meal from Margot on Christmas Day 7 years ago, I guess it was, and did not realize that's what it was. It was not called Sunday Love at that point. It was the first time Margot had gone out, and it was only much later that I realized that that's what had happened.
Okay, and so it's been 7 years that Sunday Love has been a part of your life now?
Technically?
Okay.
Technically, yes.
Okay.
That happened, a couple years went by, and I was going to meetings in the same space that Sunday Love was serving out of at that time. And it was pretty often that Margot and I would cross paths because she was cleaning up when I was coming in to set up chairs, and we would chit chat. And I always thought, she's one of those people, she looks so familiar, she looks so familiar. I don't know where I know her from. And then one day it clicked, and I realized I knew her because she had given me food. And the only way I was able to confirm that it was her is because I remember what kind of car she drove. I was like, "You drive a boxy car." And she said, "Yeah." And we realized that that's what had happened. And so it was from that point on that I was actually involved with Sunday Love.
Did she remember you?
I don't think so. I also looked a whole lot different.
Okay.
I was in pretty bad shape when she gave me that food versus when we crossed paths again a couple years later.
Okay. So that's a very interesting story. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is what was your life like when Sunday Love became a part of your life?
I mean, I met Margot originally. I was homeless, actively using. Just, it was not a life. There was no happiness. There was no joy. There was no security. It was like the darkest, most base existence that a person could have, and that was how we crossed paths. I didn't even realize that it was Christmas that she gave me food until later when she told me, because my days blurred together so badly. I had no way of marking time. I had no way of knowing that it was Christmas or Thanksgiving or any particular holiday until somebody else told me, because I didn't keep track of time out there. It just kind of was one dark blur.
What's the most important thing you've learned from being involved with Sunday Love?
Most important thing from Sunday Love. I think it helped reinforce the idea that like nobody is beyond hope, and that just by like showing basic kindness to people, by meeting people where they are, that you may not realize at that moment that you give somebody a sandwich, or that you just like stop to have a conversation with somebody who maybe most people would walk past, that you may not realize that day that you made a huge impact on that person, but that they all have kind of like ripple effects.
Right.
And that maybe like you being kind to that person that day makes something happen for them, maybe later that day, maybe not for a year later, maybe not ever, but you at least like brought a little bit of brightness into their day. And that's like I just feel like that's how Sunday Love operates. Just, like humans are humans, and everybody deserves like love and respect and just like basic human necessities like food in their stomach.
Right. And that's also something else I wanted to mention, or to ask you was, so part of the, obviously, the group of people that Sunday Love caters to is, people suffering from food insecurity, the homeless, and people in addictions. And I just want to know, like, what are some important things that can be done for that community of people?
For that, I think that it's important to recognize, like you said, people who are food insecure. I think sometimes people who like are not involved with a group like this assume that we're only giving food to people who are like extremely mentally ill, people who are going through homelessness, people who have like active addiction going on. But a lot of it is just people who are living paycheck to paycheck and can't quite scrape together enough to like feed their kids, or maybe they're working 2 jobs and it's still just like not enough, and the payday is too far away. Like, there's a lot of food insecurity that has nothing to do with like somebody's circumstances or like somebody's like illness that they're going through. A lot of it is just like the way that our society is right now. That
I think it's become a huge blurred line between people suffering from food insecurity, and it just, people think like, oh, you're hungry, you need food on the streets, you're probably in an addiction, or you've done something.
But like you did something to put yourself there, and that's not the case. There's a lot of people who are working really, really hard and just can't quite get their head above water for a variety of reasons. And a lot of them have nothing to do with the reasons that people would assume.
Right. Do you see a lot of other groups or like government agencies doing anything to take action towards any of this?
I think there's other groups, definitely kind of like grassroots, people who also kind of like saw a need and are doing what they can to fill the need. I think there's a lot of overlapping groups there, who maybe have like a different focus. Like Sunday Love is focused, on feeding people, like one of like the basic human needs. And then there's other groups that are focused more on like the like harm reduction side of things. And then there's maybe some other groups that are focused more on like the recovery side of things. I think they all overlap in certain areas. Government wise, I don't think, in my experience, I haven't seen a whole lot of concerted effort coming from
beyond policing,
well, and policing is doing the opposite. Policing, you can't arrest problems like mental illness and addiction and homelessness away, no matter how many times you arrest somebody. If you don't address like the root problem, that they have nowhere to live, that they're dealing with a disease that they don't have control over, and then you set them free, they're going to wind up getting arrested again, and then they're stuck. I don't think that the city or the government, in my opinion, I haven't seen them do much. It seems like people like to talk about it an awful lot, and it's like a very hot button issue currently.
Right.
But when it comes to seeing like practical applications, like in a trickle down effect, I don't see it coming from way at the top.
Right.
I see it coming from people with a heart who happen to drive through one day or see it on the news and they're like, we can do better. And they decide to take matters into their own hands and they do better.
I agree. And so why, I mean, what do you think is part of that? Why do you think it is that way?
I think it's, I mean, I don't know if anybody can answer that. I think it's like a long-standing stigma that is like slowly being chipped away at, but that people who wind up in certain circumstances deserve to be treated poorly, that they asked for it, that they put themselves in that situation. And I think we're only now, relatively recently, maybe starting to scratch the surface with like the general public that is probably just not true. That nobody chooses to live that way. Nobody wants to be homeless. Nobody wakes up one day and says, you know what? Instead of going to work today, I'm going to go to Kensington and sleep under a bridge. Right. Nobody willingly does that. But I think it's just the kind of old idea that people like that are disposable. So why would you spend resources on people who are not only disposable, but who are never going to contribute anything back to society? Right. Entirely untrue. Right. In my experience, people who face those hurdles and then get their lives back together are some of like the hardest working, Absolutely. The most motivated, the most creative people that I've ever met. And I think that society and therefore like government is just taking its time to kind of realize that also.
So you've done a lot of work for Sunday Love yourself. Mm-hmm. And I just want to know if you want to just give a little bit of your background with that, and then if you want to just give a little background information on your whole story in general.
Yeah. So with Sunday Love, like I said, I told you how I kind of got introduced initially after Margot and I realized that we knew each other from years before. There was still a program called Greater Goods, which was every Sunday. It was set up like a grocery store, and it was in Rittenhouse Square, and people could come and they could shop through the grocery store. There was clothing, there was hygiene products, and then there was like basic groceries. And I started volunteering there with my now wife every Sunday. And that unfortunately got shut down. Not because anybody wanted it to, because I don't know if I'm going to like put words in Sunday Love's mouth, but certain people in Rittenhouse Square didn't like the line of undesirable people showing up every Sunday and waiting to get in, and kind of, I guess, petitioned the neighborhood association to have it shut down. And it was like horrible. It would have been horrible no matter the reason that it shut down, but that was like exceptionally, like,
that was a burn.
It was sad.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I overlapped with Greater Goods, but around the same time, Sunday Love used to do service on Sundays and Mondays. And Margaret decided to add Tuesdays because there was a need for people to, have access to food more often. So she decided to open service on Tuesday nights also. And so I took on Tuesday night as that was my weekly commitment to Sunday Love, was to come and help set up, serve the guests as they came in, do whatever needed doing, do dishes, help cook, brew coffee, whatever it looked like. I was there from, before dinner until we put like the last chair away every Tuesday for, I don't know, a while. Awesome. Probably until the world went haywire and, things started shutting down.
Okay.
So, but it was a huge part of my life. So like to tie that into my like greater story, I I have suffered with an addiction since like a really young age. So for 22 years, I was in and out of, institutions, rehabs, detoxes, jail. I've had like multiple stretches of homelessness. I've had multiple stretches of like barely homed, like couch surfing, where most nights out of the week I was sleeping indoors. Kind of like all of the repercussions of like a very, very deeply rooted addiction I went through. Right. And this last time I got clean, which is definitely not the first time that I tried. The last time that I got clean was 4 years ago, and that is when I got involved with Sunday Love, like on a weekly, sometimes daily basis. Gotcha. And it was a huge part of my like recovery, was like feeling useful and being able to give back, because I could see the people that we were serving and see like myself. Sometimes I did see people that I actually knew from when I was still out there, and it was just like a sense of incredible fulfillment and a sense of incredible like worth, which was huge, because in a life where you feel like unworthy of everything all the time, to feel like useful and needed and like worthy, that was a big, like, it was just a really big piece of my recovery, especially early on, but like it has not lost its value to still feel like needed, and also to feel like I was incredibly fortunate that I was able to find lasting recovery and to not like pay that forward, to not give that back. It would be like doing a disservice to myself. It would be doing a disservice to the people who still need help. And it would just be selfish. It would just be like a crummy thing to do. So like volunteering with Sunday Love was just it was a huge part. It was a huge part of getting me like to where my life is now.
Thank you for your time today. And it was very great talking to you.
Anything for Sunday Love.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ron.